Now, well, can I ask you, do you have any resolutions this year?
I do. It's funny you bring that up. So this is the first year that I have told myself I am going to write down very specific goals. I've always had general goals, that I'll jot down, things like that. But just with our practice, what we've been working on and things like that, I've realized this whole thing we call life or reality is honestly a lot more of us programming our habits and then changing the habits, and then our experiences change. So I've gotten very specific with my goals for this year.
Okay.
Exactly what I want to see, whether that's with work, personal life, perspective shift, this.
Yeah.
And rather than it being a hope, I am very much allowing myself to feel and experience these accomplishments as if they have already happened.
There you go, yeah.
And I specifically do this in the
key.
morning
That's
and at
the
night.
key, yeah.
This is the key.
Yeah.
And really what we're doing here, guys, is we are implanting the subconscious mind.
Yep.
That's what we're doing at the end of the day. We are planting the seed and letting it flourish.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you're actually creating your future, but you don't create the situation, circumstance to enter into it. That's the surprise. So when a farmer plants an apple seed, they don't know
This
how many,
tree is going to have 7 branches and sprout 26 apples.
Yes.
Yeah.
They know it's going to sprout apples. They know it's going to bear fruit, but they don't know how much. And that's the game. That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
So heading into the unknown, but there is a known in this unknown. And it's kind of like an equation. But we're going to apply different numbers, so to speak, or different frequencies into the equation to where the experience will be unknown. And that's what we want, just like the 6-year-old child waking up in Christmas. The experience of the unknown is what's under that tree in the big red box type of thing.
I'm glad you say the unknown, too. And I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, but the reason I was always so afraid to write down specific goals in the past was I felt that if I were to write my goals down, and I feel like a lot of people deal with this, I need to write down every step that it takes in order to achieve that goal. So like a detailed breakdown. And since I don't know that, I kind of just give up because I'm like, well, I don't really know what I do here, and I can't really plan my goals because I don't know where I'm going.
And now you stop.
That's not what we're talking about.
No.
You set the goal, and then the opportunities begin to appear.
Yeah. But we kind of do this in meditation, but when you actually bring it down into physical actually writing, when you're writing whatever goal, like what you want to experience, you actually, when you're writing it, you want to get into that place of already having it as you're writing it. So sometimes it takes writing it a couple of times or get into an excited mode and write it. So when you're actually feeling the energy and writing it, what you're doing is you're hardwiring the program into your subconscious. Now you're actually having an experience. That's why a lot of people like to write. It isn't 100% necessary to write, but for a lot of people, having that dexterity of moving the pencil or pen, whatever,
Utensil
you're using, actually hardwires it into your subconscious. So it actually makes it more real than if you just imagined it in your meditation. Mm-hmm. But what we're attaching is the feeling of it, not necessarily the output. But the output is like, so I told people, like, I want $2 million.
Yep.
What would that feel like? What would generate the excitement for that? What will you be able to do with that? So all of a sudden, it's not about the $2 million. It's about what the freedom is most people look at.
And what Frank said right there is the most important part of this. It is all about the feeling.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can write whatever you want, but if you're in your head saying, this is never going to happen, I'm never going to receive this, it doesn't matter what you're writing down on the paper. It literally is the feeling that brings these experiences to you. And so when you have that focus, when you allow yourself to feel what it feels like, and you may be sitting at home right now going, I've never had $2 million. How do I know what that feels like? No. You don't have to know by experience to get to the feeling. What in your imagination does $2 million feel like?
Yeah, the truth
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, the truth is, if you know the feeling heading into experience, what we call classic physics, it's not the unknown, so it defers every time. It becomes boring after a while. So everything that you had when you were a child, the reason you were running around excited is because everything was unknown. But you had the generative aspect of the excitement that led you into the unknown. But if you walked in humdrum, you would have had a humdrum day. I don't care how old you are.
Yep.
But most kids don't know enough to know that it's humdrum. So the excitement of going into the unknown generates. Now, from the vantage point of a child, you have what we call ignorance of knowing. And now, as adults, we don't have the opportunity to forget what we know. So what leads us in there is what we call wisdom. So we can override the knowing and head into a completely different knowing, because I don't know what I don't know. And what I don't know is my future unknown experience. But if I keep trying to reiterate what I know, again, it's like watching a movie several times over, expecting a different outcome. And that's, there's nothing wrong with that. You might pick up different parts. So have an experience. It doesn't mean I go to Hawaii only once in my life, but every time I go, I'm looking for something different to do, so to speak. So it doesn't mean you only go once. But the first time I went, there was nothing like it. It's how it is. So I want to keep having those first times as much as I can throughout my life.
And there's infinite ways to do that.
Oh, it's infinite. You just have to be willing to step into the unknown. And at first, and what me and Mike are talking about, so just for a lot of people, just sitting down on the couch in the morning and the evening, closing your eyes is the unknown. Most people don't go within, and
they live their entire life out here.
A lot of my clients that trying to get results in something, I tell them, I says, hey, have you done the work? And they're like, well, I tried to meditate. I'm like, that's like trying to pick up a fork off the floor. You either do or you don't. And I says, yeah, it's uncomfortable at first, but start with 2 minutes, work up to 5. And once you get the first tingling feeling of you've lost your body, now you know what it feels like. And now the journey is to keep getting there. It's not going to remain. So, but I've been doing this for a long time, and Mike as well. So what happens is I do a meditation every day without any hesitation, because it's almost, to me, it's like my cup of coffee.
It is a habit.
Yeah.
You created habit.
It's beyond. It feels so good. I want to do it. It's not like something, I got to meditate today. No, I actually love doing it. But in the beginning, it wasn't that way. But the cool thing is I do it every day. And so when I start out my morning, when I'm done with my meditation in the form of sitting down, my eyes closed, shutting out the world, closing down my 5 senses, and just having a sense of a feeling of the energy around me. When I come out of it and I go about my day, I know the feeling that I want to hold on to. I don't worry about the outside circumstance anymore. Something comes up, I go and it disturbs me. I go back to the feeling I had. I still remember how I felt this morning when I was sitting on my couch doing it. I go right back to it. I'm familiar with the feeling. I go back to the feeling. That's why when we do it more and more and more, the point isn't to meditate all day. The point is to actually be in a meditative state all day, even when I'm driving my car, walking around, dealing with clients or whatever. Even if I got pulled over by a cop, dealing with that and trying to maintain it. I want to go right back to that feeling. And the thing is,
that's presence.
Yeah, that feeling is what's keeping me moving, and all the things around me I have more control over. Even if I get pulled over by a police officer. That happened to me one time.
Yeah.
And he went to write me a ticket. Did I ever tell you this story?
I've never heard this one.
It was a state
Hell
trooper.
Yeah.
State trooper pulled me over. Young guy.
Yeah.
And he had to pull up onto the pasture side because we're on the freeway. And he's like, yeah, I pulled you over. And I'm like, speeding, He goes, I know you like, these cars are fast. It was in like, I'm like, yeah.
Were you in the Challenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. He's like, all right, license registration took it, went back. A couple minutes went by. I'm like, okay, you come back. He's like, today's your lucky day. My printer broke. So
it ain't luck.
Yeah. No, I said to him, I can follow you to Kinko's. And he
probably laughed.
Yeah. Well, he was a stern guy.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he's like
he had something to prove.
No, yeah. Well, I think due to what's going on with law enforcement, they have to maintain it. Yeah. Cool. And then it was funny on my passenger side was one of my books. He's like, I'm like, oh, it's a book I written. He's like, really? You wrote a book? And it was just brief like that. I'm like, you want a copy? And he's like, no, I can't accept gifts. I'm like, were you ever bribed with a book before? And he goes, have a nice day, Mr. Daly. And walked away.
I was going to say, I thought he took it.
No,
That's funny.
He can't take gifts,
That makes sense.
And so I didn't bust his chops anymore. I just realized,
That's awesome.
But it was funny because, like, it wasn't like I wasn't like saying, I'm not going to get a ticket. I'm not going to get a ticket. I'm like, oh, shit, I was speeding.
Yeah.
I'm dead to rights. If I get a ticket, so be it.
Is what it is.
Yeah, and his printer broke. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, universe.
Yeah.
It's crazy though when you really start to practice these concepts. Frank mentioned the word wisdom, and wisdom to me personally, let me just kind of explain. I guess my version is wisdom is a absolute knowing. So I've been practicing these concepts now.
Yeah, wisdom,
going on 3 years.
Yeah, wisdom's the ability to get into an experience without even knowing what's going to happen.
It's the faith in the knowing.
Yes,
and so I've seen the changes in my life, and I'm talking, guys, dramatic changes when it comes to, you name it, job, money, relationships, family, friends, you name it. This has affected me in all facets of my life, and I love it.
And tell the audience, like, how long did it take you to get there? And
to get there, with meditation, it probably took me a solid, I don't know, it's hard for me to explain because I can't really pinpoint it. I just knew. I made this promise to myself that I knew this was the path.
When did you start doing like the meditation on like a day-to-day basis?
Oh, I started, it probably took me, I would say 2, 3, 4 months of meditating on and off to get to the point of the peace, the silence.
Okay.
Where I knew what it was.
Now think about that. 2 to 3 months.
And this was, it was not every day at first.
Yeah, but 2 to 3 months to get to that place, isn't that worth it?
And I was going to say, and it's been every day since. Because once you know what you're doing and what that feeling is like, it's freeing. It's very much so a very free feeling. So taking that and bringing it back to the wisdom portion, wisdom to me is a knowing, it is a faith, and you're no longer forcing anything. Just like Frank's conversation right there. He wasn't saying, okay, right now I'm not going to get a ticket. No, he wasn't trying.
That was a care.
He's not trying to force anything. He was simply present there in that moment. Did he deserve a ticket?
No,
Frank's
but what's funny is, what's funny is it wasn't even that I didn't get the ticket or whatever. It was a kind of funny dialogue because you could tell the guy wanted to laugh, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
Because he's on the duty and probably had a camera on him and stuff like that.
He totally did, yeah.
And I was kind of subtle about it, but I can't help. I have to joke. I can't be serious about anything.
Yeah.
And like when I said the Keiko's thing, he just like shook his head like,
he's like, dude, come on.
Shit, I got to deal with it. My printer went out. You got to be a pain
You
in
got
the ass.
to bust my balls.
Bust my balls.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
He probably went back to the station. He's like, I got a character today.
Seriously.
Freaking idiot wrote a book too, by the way.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully he went home and Googled you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I should have gave.
He got his own copy.
I should have followed the freaking Keiko's.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, if you haven't checked out Frank's book, please do so.
Oh, you plugging me right now?
Oh, dude, I got it.
On.
It's called Enjoy the Ride.
Yeah.
Enjoy the Ride by Frank Daly. Easy. You can find it on anything, guys.
Actually, that's one of our we have a joint resolution this year.
Yes, we do.
Goal. It's to write a book.
Frank and I are going to put together a book this year.
Yep.
And I can't wait.
Yes.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I've been thinking about some good ideas.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So that's going to be fun.
Good, because I have none.
It will come to us.
No ideas.
It will come to us.
Oh, yeah, it comes to me.
But that's the excitement about a new year, guys. New goals. Every day is a fresh start.